Welcome to Steve Savant's Money, the name of the game. Hi everyone, I'm your host, Steve Savant, syndicated financial columnist and money gamer extraordinaire. Today we're talking about vetting an advisor with nationally recognized top industry consultant, Chuck Hollander. Chuck, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Steve.
Chuck, now I've heard you on our other side with all these advisors, and that's what you do for a living. You deal with insurance carriers, financial institutions. You deal with their producers, their advisors.
Yeah.
Most of the mail I get from consumers, not only off this show, but just because I'm on the online so heavily, is, Steve, I don't know how to vet an advisor. How do I know what I'm getting?
Yeah.
Now, we've talked about this before. Well, they could go out and do broker check, see if he has any bad boy issues, go call the insurance commissioner, see if they're on any hit list. They could go out and maybe look at their social media. Are they talking a little on Facebook, kind of get an idea what the guy's like, LinkedIn, Twitter. But you deal with these guys every day. You're the coach of advisors. I want you to talk to consumers today and say, how do I vet an advisor? What are some things that I should look at from a successful person? How do I know if I'm choosing the right guy?
Yeah. So first, let me begin with what I coach on and why this is a relevant question to ask me. I coach advisors on how to build healthier practices. And a healthier practice is not one that's making more money than it did last year, or it can be sold for more money than it was before they met me. A healthy practice is one that's unlocking value for consumers in ways that others are not. So it's all about the consumer. It's all about you, how that practice can deliver value. So my question to them is always, what business problem are you solving, or what problem are you solving for your consumers? So that's the first question I might ask. Say, what problems do you solve for the kind of clients you work with? Now, you're going to get two responses, one that looks like a deer in the headlights, or they will articulate it real quickly. They might say, you know what we do, Steve, is that we provide advice. We help our customers help them make wise and confident decisions. And then you might want to ask them, can you give me an example? Can you give me an example of how you've helped somebody make more wise and confident decisions? So these are kind of the questions that you want to ask to see if they're really in business and they understand why they exist, why they're in business. Because if they're in business just to pay their bills or to buy a second home, it doesn't mean it's a bad person, but it's probably an indication of a business that's not going to serve you well over long periods of time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, as a consumer, I'm thinking, and again, some of the email that I receive, I really want to hire a quality person who will listen to me. The number one issue I hear, especially from female consumers, is I have not found an advisor who will listen to me.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Customers today want to be understood, and they want to feel like they're understood. So if I was in the market for financial services, I might say, tell me about your process of how you work with customers. How do you come up with the advice that you deliver? Now, if they can't articulate a process or a system or a methodology, then that's a red flag in itself. You know, a doctor has a process. You come in and fill out the paperwork. You come in maybe for a pre-screening. You get asked a battery of questions. They have a process. So if this process is flawed, so will the advice that you're getting.
I love your analogy with the doctor. When I go to my cardiologist, I go through a gauntlet of procedures that I do every day. And before I even see him, I've already went through these. And all of a sudden, the physician comes online, and instead of going, well, based on all your statistics, Steve, here's my diagnosis, he says, how you feeling? How you sleeping at night? I have consumers that say, Steve, I'm not sleeping. I'm worried about my money. I'm at 2 a.m. I have my eyes up in the ceiling. I don't know what to do. Who's going to help me? And I don't know who to choose because of that. Money is an emotional issue. Money is very feeling oriented. We sometimes approach it in our industry as a very statistical issue. Plans are just, this is the tax code. But really, from a consumer point of view, we want to have the security, especially retirement planning now, which is so big in America because the baby boomers are retiring. They want the security that I am doing the right thing so that I can live a lifestyle. I want to be happy. And I don't want to be sitting there pinching pennies when I'm 85.
That's right. People want an investment portfolio like they want a hole in the head. They need $500,000 of life insurance. They need a kick in the pants.
Right.
What they need is peace of mind. They need insurance to make sure their business continues. They need a portfolio so they can retire and with a peace of mind or what have you. So here's the test. Ask your advisors, what are my three highest and most important goals? And if the advisor doesn't know that, then that's a red flag. And if you're working with multiple advisors, an accountant, an attorney, it's another thing that we teach, that you need to get to the advisor to build healthier teams. Because most advisors, as money gets more complex to manage, the consumer typically will hire multiple advisors. Well, here's the challenge. Because they don't work together, they're all independent firms. The accountant's separate from the law firm's separate from the accounting firm or the investment firm, the insurance firm, financial planner. If you ask them, say, listen, I want you to write down on a 3x5 card my three highest and most important goals. Guess what comes back? The accountant sends back a card that's completely different than the attorney. The attorney comes back with legal, frame set. And the investments is how to make your money move from 6% to 8%. So you're right. It's all about the investments or the assets. And sometimes the more important piece is what those things will do for the family.
When we come back after the break, we're going to talk about maybe we should be looking at, do I get a quarterback for that? Do I have somebody that actually leads the pack of my multiple advisors? When we come back from the break, we're going to talk about that and more about how to vet an advisor.
Take a close look at your hard-earned dollar. How do you think your money's doing? Are you keeping an eye on it? Is it protected from taxes, inflation, and market risk? Over time, those Washingtons could become Franklins. With tax-advantaged indexed universal life, from one of the largest distributors of indexed universal life, Ash Brokerage.
Well, welcome back to our second segment. Chuck, I'm asking you, do you think when we have multiple players, I have a CPA, I have an investment allocation guy, I have a legal attorney, do I need to get a quarterback for that?
Well, not necessarily. That would be one way to fix it. Let's go back to the problem. What is the problem? The fact is, when they're not collaborating, and then that compromises the level of advice that you're getting from that team. So the other thing is, many advisors are quick, regardless of discipline, accounting, legal, investment, they're quick to come up with solutions to the problem. And now it's okay for them to do that because they've seen the problem multiple times, but it's not helpful if the customer or the prospect or the client doesn't see the problem. Because if they don't see the problem and the consequences of not fixing it, they won't take advice. And now the value that you were delivering as an advisor is left on the shelf, so that you're not even helping the client. If you're going too fast.
Well, here are some of the questions. I like this. From a consumer point of view, I'm wondering if our consumers are watching right now. They say, "Steve, do I have a problem?" Well, I think I do. I just don't know what it is.
Well, I teach advisors that when you come in, be careful that you're not going so fast and delivering advice too fast. And by the way, this doesn't happen just in the advisory community, so I don't want to sound like I'm too hard on them. I had a problem with my knee that I had to actually have a allograft where they were putting in a bone from a cadaver and you break the tibia to offset it. I mean, it's a serious surgery. I'll never forget going into Phoenix to one of the orthopedic surgeons. He was one of the best. He worked with a lot of the professional athletes. He took 2 x-rays. Or he didn't. Someone in his office took 2 x-rays. He's got his Harvard diplomas up here, pictures of all the professional athletes. He took 2 x-rays. He came in 20 minutes later, threw them up on the screen and said, "You need a knee replacement." He did his diagnosis like that. So what did I do as the consumer? I said, there's no way. This guy didn't even ask me, what kind of sports am I playing? What do I want to play the rest of my life? What does it look like? I didn't feel like, as the consumer, he completely understood me and my circumstances. His prescription might have been dead on. It happened to be not. It had been dead on, but I didn't feel like the diagnosis was thorough. Therefore, I didn't take the advice. So I teach advisors, you got to slow down and you got to help the customer, because these are the questions that they want to know before they hire you. So think of this. Number one, do I have a problem? You insist that the advisor navigate with you the following questions. Do we even have a problem around retirement? Do we have a problem around our estate plan? Is it outdated? How big is it? You're busy. just like everyone else on the planet. You probably wake up with 10 things to do and time to do 8. You don't have the time to fix every problem, so you want to know, how big is it? The third thing you want to know, who's impacted? Is it my kids, my grandkids? Is it my church, synagogue, the community, my business? Who's impacted? And what are the consequences? Help make the advisor navigate this for you before we get into the solutions. What are the consequences if we don't fix this? If they help you navigate these 4 questions, now you've been empowered. You've been empowered to answer this one most important question. Do we want to fix it? So if they're skipping this, this is all about the diagnosis. Remember the triangles? If they're skipping this, there's no way you're going to get high quality advice. So that's one piece that I'd encourage. Write those questions down.
I really love that, Chuck. Chuck, I want to bring something here before we close out the show. I've noticed now that the World War II and Korean veterans, almost all of these men have died now. They passed. But their spouses are still living in long-term care facilities and now operated by their baby boomer daughters. Their daughters are helping their moms. I've noticed a new statistic that 72% of all female consumers summarily terminate their relationship with their investment advisor. I read that article. They never talk to mom during the entire relationship. Talk a little bit about this, because in 5 to 7 years, America's wealth is going to be run by baby boomer daughters with their moms in a facility. Talk about that.
So when an advisor's not meeting that next generation or the kids, et cetera, I don't know if the quality of advice is being impacted now, but it certainly will be later. And I think that is an important piece for advisors to make part of their process, that they get to know that next generation. Many families will tell us that the more affluent, who have a layer of wealth that's going to survive them and pass on, they'll say, help me help my kids without hurting them. Their point is, the industry is so fixed on reducing taxes and passing on the most amount of my kids. It's not really what they want. If given the choice, pass on their money or their value system, it'd be their value system. It'd never be the checkbook.
Well, I've noticed in recent years that we're seeing a different approach, because I see more and more people saying, I need to feel secure. The mathematics that you've given me on the plan are great, and it shows me where the numbers are coming from, but does that make me feel secure? Do I have an emotion that says, I'm going to bed tonight and I'm sleeping?
That's exactly right. It goes back to, they don't want investment portfolio. They want what that thing will do for them. Maybe the peace of mind that I'm going to go into retirement, or I will go through my retirement years with that peace of mind. You're exactly right, Steve.
Well, we're talking about vetting an advisor. That's our show for today. I want to thank Chuck Hollander for being our special guest and today's Money Mentor. And remember, before moving forward with any of the ideas on our show, always consult your tax advisor or your legal counsel. And as the good Reverend John Wesley once said, make all you can, save all you can, give all you can. I'm Steve Savant. We'll see you next week.